A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Civics first year class. So we were dealing with very short answers. We have discussed very short answers till chapter 9. We'll continue with very short answers from chapter 10. The chapter 10 is Constitution. Okay. So the first question is, what do you mean by Constitution? Okay. What is Constitution? Constitution, it is set of rules and regulations. What is Constitution? It is set of rules and regulations for the rulers and the ruled. Rulers means government. Ruled means people or citizens. Okay, so Constitution, it consists of rules and regulations for the government and the people. How government should function, how government should make laws, all that is mentioned in the Constitution. So Constitution, it explains about powers and functions of the government. Okay, how government should function, that is explained in Constitution. And what are the rights and duties of the citizens, or rights and duties of the people are mentioned in the Constitution. So it is regarded as the supreme law of land. It is the supreme law of the land because it is controlling the government. Okay, Constitution, it is controlling the government. That is why it is called as supreme law of land. Okay. The next is, what is an unwritten constitution? See, when I explained you this chapter, I told you Constitution basic classification is, enacted and evolved. Constitutions are of two types, enacted and evolved. Enacted means it is prepared at a time, one time. Okay, it is prepared by a body of people called Constituent Assembly. It is prepared by a body of people called Constituent Assembly, and evolved, it is prepared from time to time. So customs and traditions, they become constitutional provisions. So enacted constitution is always written, and evolved constitution is unwritten. As it is prepared from time to time, it is unwritten. So unwritten constitution is a constitution whose provisions are not written in a single document. See, we are saying it is unwritten, but it is not written in a single document. It is based on customs and conventions. Okay, it is not a single document. It is not a proper document. It is also a written form, but not in a single document. Okay, so it includes several customs and traditions which are manifested in the form of laws. I told you, evolved constitution, it is prepared from time to time on the basis of customs and traditions. Customs and traditions, it becomes the laws. Okay, it is informal in nature. Example, we have Constitution of England. Constitution of England is the example of unwritten constitution. If you know the basic difference between the evolved and enacted, then you can understand what is a written and unwritten, and rigid and flexible. So unwritten constitution, as it can be changed easily. Okay, unwritten constitution, it can be changed easily. Okay, whereas written constitution, it cannot be changed. Written constitution, it cannot be changed. So unwritten constitution can be changed easily. So it is flexible in nature. It is flexible in nature. What is the nature of unwritten constitution? It is flexible. Flexible means it can be changed easily according to the needs of the people. Okay. Next is, what is a written constitution? See, unwritten and written, they are opposite to each other. If you know one, you can write for the other. So, a written constitution, just now I explained you, it is prepared by Constituent Assembly. So, it is an enacted constitution. Written constitution is an enacted constitution, and all the rules and regulations of the government are in written form, in a single document. It is a single document. It is a single document. Okay. So, as all the provisions are in a written form, it protects the fundamental rights of the citizens. It is not easy. Sorry. It cannot be amended easily. It is not easy to amend the written constitution. It protects the fundamental rights. It is not easy to amend. Cannot make changes easily. Not easy to amend. So when it is not easy to amend, it is rigid in nature. It is rigid in nature. Okay. What is a written constitution? All the provisions of the constitution are in a written form. They are written in a single document. I told you. It is a single document. Okay. So, enacted constitution is always written. Let us move to the next question. What is a flexible constitution? What is a flexible constitution? Flexible means can be changed easily. The constitution whose provisions can be changed easily is a flexible constitution. Okay. It can be amended in a procedure of amending ordinary laws. How we change ordinary laws? In the same procedure, in the same manner, we can amend the constitution. There is no differences between ordinary law and the constitutional laws. Okay. All unwritten constitutions are flexible in nature. Example, Constitution of England. Okay. Next is, what is a rigid constitution? Rigid constitution is a constitution whose provisions cannot be changed easily. We cannot change the rigid constitution easily. Okay, there is a system of amendment. We have to follow a procedure to amend the constitution, and there are different for ordinary laws and for the constitutional laws. For changing the constitution, you have to follow some method. For changing the ordinary laws, you have to follow some other method. So, constitutional amendment methods are different from those of ordinary laws. Okay. Like for example, Indian Constitution, if you have to change Indian Constitution, if you need to amend the Indian Constitution, we have three methods. That is rigid method. Okay. Then second is flexible method. And third is quasi-rigid. Okay. And quasi-flexible method. Okay, Indian Constitution, it can be amended by 3 methods. Okay, there is a different procedure followed for amending constitutional laws and ordinary laws. Both are different. If you remember, just now I told you there is no difference between ordinary laws and constitutional laws in case of flexible constitution. There is no difference. Both ordinary laws and constitutional laws are one and the same. But in case of rigid constitution, there is a difference between constitutional laws and ordinary laws. So, special procedure is followed for amending the constitution. Example, Constitution of America. Constitution of USA, it is a rigid constitution. To amend the constitution, a special procedure is followed. Okay, and what is preamble? See, preamble is the introduction to the constitution. In simple words, you can say preamble is an introduction to constitution. It is like, you know, when you open a book, when you read books, when you open the book, you will see the preface. Okay, preface. If you read that preface, you will know what is the book about. Okay, so similarly, the constitution has preface. The preface of the constitution is called as preamble, preface or introduction. Okay, it is the preface or introduction of the constitution. That is, every constitution will have a preamble. Okay, whatever may be the type of constitution, every constitution will have a preamble. It will reflect or denote aims and aspirations of the constitution. Why this constitution is made? Okay, what is the objective of the constitution? That is reflected in the preamble. It denotes, or you can also say reflects. Okay, so it is the soul of the constitution. See, if you read the introduction, you will understand what is it about, what the book is about. So, it is regarded as the soul of the constitution, and it is one of the important features of the constitution. Every constitution shall have preamble. That is one of the important features. Next is coming to your 11th chapter, organs of government. Okay, organs of government, your 11th chapter. So, in your 10th chapter, you have 6 VSAQs. If you are learning this 6, you will be able to answer 2 VSAQs there. Now, organs of government. Okay, so how many organs of government are there and what are they? This is the most repeated question. Okay, this is the most repeated question, important question. Okay, for 2 marks. Repeatedly they ask this. How many organs of government are there? What are they? So, what does the government do? Government, it makes rules and regulations and implement them to control the people. To control people, government will make laws. So, how it is making laws? It makes laws through 3 organs. What are the 3 organs? The first one is legislature. It is the law making organ. So, we say legislature, it makes the laws. Legislature is the law making organ of the government. Then you have executives. These executives are responsible to enforce the laws or implement the laws. So, executives, they implement the laws. Executives implement the laws. And judiciary, the third organ is judiciary. The judiciary will check whether the legislature has made an unnecessary law or executive has taken an unnecessary decision. So, it is checking. Judiciary, it is interpreting the laws. It will check whether it is according to the constitution or not. If it is not according to the constitution, then those laws can be declared as invalid by the judiciary. So, judiciary, it interprets the laws. Legislature makes the laws, executive implement the laws, and judiciary, it question, repeated question. This is the repeated question. Next question also, theory of separation of power. It is also important. It is also repeated. So, what is meant by theory of separation of powers? Now, this theory of separation of powers, it was explained by Montesquieu. Okay, in his book, The Spirit of Laws, Montesquieu, he wrote a book called The Spirit of Laws. In that, he explained theory of separation of powers. Okay, what is this theory? This theory says that all the three organs of government, here we have seen the three organs of government, legislature, executive, judiciary, all the three organs of government, they shall work independently. Okay, they shall work independently, and each organ will check the misuse of power by other two organs. Okay, judiciary, it is checking the misuse of power by legislature and executive, like this. Okay, so according to theory of separation of power, which was given by Montesquieu in his book, The Spirit of Law, each organ should work independently. So, what happens if they are working independently? They can check the misuse of power by other organs. So, with this, we can protect the liberty of the people. The liberty of the people is protected. That is theory of separation of powers. Okay. The next is, what do you mean by plural executive? What do you mean by plural executive? Plural executive is one in which the directing authority, the power is shared by group of ministers. Okay, it is shared by group of ministers. So, this system you can see in Switzerland, where the burden of government is shared by 7 ministers, or they are also called as presidents. So, all the 7 ministers are called as presidents, and this 7 ministers, they are elected by national legislature for a fixed period. So, when we are saying single or plural executive, it is not based on the number, but it is based on responsibility. Okay, it is based on responsibility. The difference between single and plural executive is not based on the number, how many people are ruling. No, it is based on the responsibility, how the responsibility is being shared. It is shared by, or the burden of government is shared by the ministers. So, it is called as plural executive. Next is judicial review. What is judicial review? It is the power of the court or power of the judiciary. Judicial review, it is the power of the judiciary to declare the laws made by the legislature as invalid. If the laws which are made by the legislature are against the constitution, if the laws are against the constitution, then judiciary will declare those laws as invalid. Okay, and this concept, it originated in USA, and it is based on theory of separation of powers. Just now we have seen theory of separation of powers. What did we say? Here each organ will work independently and it will check the misuse of powers by the other organ. So, through judicial review, the judiciary is checking the misuse of power by the other organs. Okay. Any doubts? I hope there is no doubt till here. Next is Senate. What is Senate? Here you will get a question, what is Senate or House of Lords? In Britain, we call it as House of Lords. In India, we call it as Upper House, that is Rajya Sabha. Okay, so the United States of America and Canada. In United States of America and Canada, the upper house of the central legislature is called as Senate. Okay, in Britain, the same upper house is called as House of Lords, and India we call it as Rajya Sabha. So it represents the states. The Senate, it represents the states. It approves the decisions taken by the president. In America, we have presidential form of government. So it will approve the decisions taken by the president. It enjoys more powers than the House of Representatives. Upper house is more powerful in presidential form of government. Upper house is more powerful than the lower house. Okay. The next is unicameralism. So what is unicameral? What do you mean by unicameral legislature? Unicameral legislature. What is unicameral legislature? Okay. Unicameral legislature means legislature having one house. Okay, legislature having one house. The word uni, it means one. So when a legislature has only one house, then we call it as unicameral legislature. So in unitary form of government, where you have only one government for the whole country, we find this unicameral legislature. Okay, as you will have only one government, elections are held for only one house, so it is less expensive. Unicameral legislature is less expensive, and as it is the only house which has to pass the bill, the decisions are taken quickly. So quick decisions are taken when there is unicameral legislature. Okay, so where do you find this unicameral legislature? It is found in countries where you have unitary government. It is less expensive because elections are held only for the one house, and as there is only one house, the bills are passed by that house, they are not sent to any other house, so quick decisions are taken. That is unicameral legislature. Okay, next is opposite to unicameral, we have bicameral. So bi means two. Bicameral legislature means legislature having two chambers or houses. Legislature having two houses, or you can say chambers also. So you will have a lower house and an upper house. We will have two houses, lower house and the upper house. Lower house, it represents the people. Okay, it is representation of people, and upper house, it represents the states. There is representation of states, and you will find this type of legislature in federation. That is in federal government, in countries where you have two governments, central and the state government, there you will have bicameral legislature. So what happens? The upper house will check the ill-considered laws of the lower house. So what happens in bicameral legislature? Bills are passed from lower house to upper house. Okay. So if any bill is ill considered, it is not checked properly, or in hurry it has been passed, the upper house will check it, okay, before approving it. So it considers or it checks the ill considered laws made by the lower house. See, that bill to become an act has to be approved by both the houses. In bicameral legislature, when you have two houses, when legislature is making law, that bill has to be approved by both the houses. So if any bill has been passed, in hurry, then the upper house will check it. Then it will either reject it, or they can send it for the reconsideration also, or it can approve it. Okay. The next is parliamentary executive. What do you mean by parliamentary executive? In parliamentary executive, you will have two executives. There are two types of executives. What are the two types? Here we have nominal executive and real executive. What are the two types of executives we have in parliamentary system? We have nominal executive and real executives. The nominal executive, he enjoys the executive powers only for the name's sake. Okay, he enjoys the powers only for the name's sake, and it is the real executive who takes all the decisions. Okay, so example, President of India is nominal executive, Prime Minister is the real executive. Okay, this is your parliamentary form of government. In parliamentary form of government, there exist two types of executives. Next is checks. So with this, we have completed your 11th chapter, that is organs of government. Okay. This is an important topic for 2 marks. So learn all the 2 marks questions which I have shared with you. Let us move to your last chapter, that is forms of government. Last chapter, 12th chapter is your forms of government. So check and balances. What do you mean by checks and balances? Checking, you know what is checking? Okay, so checks and balances, it is a feature of presidential form of government, where the head of the state and the head of the government is only one, that is president. Example, America. In America, we have presidential form of government. So according to these principles, the three organs of government, they work independently. There is theory of separation of power, but they will check the misuse of powers by the other organs. Okay, they will see whatever president is, what decisions president is taking, that is checked by the other two organs, or whatever decisions are taken by the legislature, that is checked by the other two organs. So all the three organs are working independently, but they are checking the misuse of power by the other organs. So here no organ becomes despot or dominant. No organ becomes despot or dominant or more powerful. No, all the three organs, they function separately. Okay, and checking each other. So there will be balance of power. No organ is powerful, so there is balance of power. And what is collective responsibility. Another important question for 2 marks. Collective responsibility. Checks and balances also. Whatever questions I am explaining now, they are the most important questions. You can expect questions from these questions only. Okay. So collective responsibility is the feature of parliamentary form of government. What is parliamentary form of government? You have 2 executives. In parliamentary form of government, you have 2 executives, real executive and nominal executive. So here what is the main difference between parliamentary and presidential? In parliamentary form of government, the real executive, they are the part of legislature. The party which secures majority in the legislature, then that party will form the government. But whereas in presidential form of government, the people of the country, they will directly elect the president. Okay. So here in parliamentary form of government, the real executive, that is the prime minister and all his ministers, they are part of parliament. So they are responsible, that is answerable to the legislature. So whatever decisions are taken by them, those decisions can be questioned by the parliament. Parliament, that is Lok Sabha, it is representing the people. So the representatives of the people can question the government. Okay. So there is, what is, according to it, all the ministers are collectively as a team responsible to the legislature, and legislature, it controls the executive, because executive is coming from the legislature only. He is a part of legislature, and legislature controls him. How? By asking questions and passing resolutions. Okay. So executive continues in office if it enjoys the majority support in the lower house of the legislature. Okay. If it loses the majority or confidence of the house, members of the house, then the executive has to resign. The executive has to resign. That is collective responsibility. Next is no confidence motion. Okay, it is with this resolution, when this resolution is passed, the executive have to resign. See, the legislature controls the executive in parliamentary government. That is what we have discussed just now. Executive continues its office till it enjoys the majority of the lower house. If no confidence motion is passed, executive lost the confidence or support of the legislature, and executive must resign. So when no confidence motion is passed, it can be said that the house, it does not have any trust on the executive, or house does not support the executive. So once this no confidence motion is passed, the executive have to resign. He must resign. Next is Prime Minister. Prime Minister is the real executive in the parliamentary form of government. He takes all the important decisions of the government. Okay, he is the head of the government. Okay, he is the head of the government. He will select all his ministers and he is the advisor to the president. Okay, whatever decisions are taken by the prime minister, they have lot of importance. Okay, I hope I am clear with this questions. Next is president. So in parliamentary form of government, president is the nominal executive. Okay, whereas in presidential form of government, he is the chief executive, he is the head of the state. Okay, parliamentary government and presidential. Okay, in parliamentary government, you have two executives, head of the state and head of the government. Whereas in presidential form of government, you will have only one executive. He is both. Okay, the executive is both. That is, he is the head of the state as well as head of the government. Okay, and he can be removed, whatever may be the form of government, parliamentary or presidential, he can be removed through impeachment resolution passed by the legislature. The president, both in parliamentary and presidential form of government, can be removed from his office through a resolution passed in the legislature. That resolution is called as impeachment resolution. Okay. What do you understand by parliamentary government? What do you mean by parliamentary government? See, parliamentary government has two types of executives, nominal and real. This we have discussed. And I also told you that executive is the part of legislature, and executives, they are collectively responsible, answerable to the legislature. So, government works under the leadership of Prime Minister. I told you this Prime Minister is the head of the state. Prime Minister is the head of the state. So, government will work under his leadership. Example, England and India. In these two countries, we have parliamentary form of government. Okay, next is classification of government done by Aristotle. Okay, how Aristotle has classified government. Aristotle, he classified government on the basis of number of people who are ruling. Okay, number of people who are ruling and the nature, like what type of government it will be. Okay, so here you can see, if it is ruled by one person, we call it as monarchy. When the government is in normal form, that is, the ruler is not selfish, he wants to work for the people, then we call it as monarchy. And when the ruler becomes selfish, then it is tyranny. Okay, do you understand this? When there is only one ruler and he is working for the welfare of the people, then we call it as monarchy. And if the ruler is selfish, okay, then we call it as tyranny. Then we have few rulers, rich people ruling. Few rich people ruling. When you have these rich people, few people ruling for the welfare of the nation, for the development of the nation, then we call it as aristocracy. It is called as aristocracy. When these rulers, they are not bothered about the welfare of the people, they are not bothered about the development, they are selfish, then it is called as oligarchy. It is called as oligarchy. Okay. Next, when you have many rulers, when the power is with many people, then it is called, when the elected representatives, the government, it works for the welfare of the people, then we call it as polity. We call it as polity. But the same representatives, they become selfish. They are not bothered about the welfare of the people. We call it as democracy. Okay, on the basis of number of people ruling, Aristotle has done the classification of the government. Then, what do you mean by federal government? Federal government means government having two types of government. You will have a central government and the state government. Okay, in federal form of government, you have two types of governments, two levels. Okay, central government and the state government. And the constitution divides the powers between the center and the state. The administrative, lawmaking powers, all the powers are divided between both the government, central and the state government, and they enjoy equal status. So, there will be division of powers between center and the state. In India, we have federal system. In America and Canada also, we have federal form of government. These are the important questions from your 12th chapter. Last chapter, you will get one question from this chapter. The weightage for this chapter is 7 marks. You will get one SAQ and one VSAQ from this chapter. So with this, I have completed VSAQs for all the chapters. Students, it's very easy if you are learning chapter wise. You can attempt more questions and get through your exams. So previously also I told you, see, don't learn complete syllabus. Learn the important chapters like your chapter 1. Okay, chapter 1, you will get one LAQ from that. What is that? Scope of political science. Okay, then in chapter 2, you have two LAQs, that is elements of state and characteristics of sovereignty. Okay, so if you are learning these two questions from second chapter, you will be able to answer one question. So if you are learning these three LAQs, you will be in a position to answer two LAQs. Okay, learn three, you will be in a position to answer two LAQs. Then you have a choice to learn from. Learn either socialism or Gandhism. From your 5th chapter, you will get one question out of these two. Basic principles of socialism, basic ideas of Gandhism. Okay, out of these two questions, you will get one question for sure. So what are the questions you are learning? Scope, elements of state, and characteristics of sovereignty. Okay. If you are learning this 5 questions, enough. If you are learning these 5 questions, you can write 3 LAQs. You can write 3 LAQs easily. If you find it difficult to learn socialism or Gandhism, then you in 11th chapter you have functions of legislature, executive and judiciary. These 3 questions. You will get one for sure out of this 11th chapter. This is from your 11th chapter. 3 questions. If you are learning 3, you will get one question. Okay. So if you are learning either question number 1, 2, 3 and these 3 questions, 6 questions, you can write 3 questions. If you are learning these 5 questions, you can write 3 questions. Okay. These are the important LAQs. Please learn these LAQs. Then coming to your short answers. Okay, 5-mark questions. You have 12 chapters. You will get 12 questions. 12 chapters. You will get 12 questions. You have to write 8 questions. You have to attempt only 8 questions. So instead of learning the SAQs from all the chapters, learn from any 8 chapters and learn the differences, basically differences. In chapter 2, you have state government, state society, then state association. In chapter 3, you have nation, nationality, nation, state. Then in your constitution, in 10th chapter, again, you have, rigid, flexible, written, unwritten differences. You will get at least 2 differences from these chapters. Okay, minimum 2 you can expect differences from these chapters. One from state, one from constitution. You can expect sometimes from nation, nationality also you will get differences. So if you are learning differences, okay, how many differences I told you? From 2nd chapter 3, from 3rd chapter 2, and from 10th chapter you have 2 questions. So total 7 differences if you are learning. They are very simple to learn. If you are learning differences, you can attempt for another 10 marks. 2 questions will be asked for sure. 2 differences will be asked. Okay, so instead of learning all 12 chapters, learn 8 chapters. Now coming to your secularism, 9th chapter. 9th chapter, you have only 3 SAQs. Okay, if you are learning those 3, chapter 9. In chapter 9, you have only 3 SAQs. So learn those 3 SAQs. 1 question is compulsory. Then your citizenship. Again, you have 3 or 4 SAQs. If you are learning that, okay, you can answer your SAQs. So for SAQs, I suggest you to learn. Differences is over. Then chapter, I am giving you the chapter names. Other than differences from 2nd, 3rd and 10th, 11th chapter, it's better to learn short answers from 6th chapter, rights and duties. Then your 7th chapter, citizenship. 8th chapter, democracy. 9th chapter, secularism. So here 4 SAQs you are able to answer. 4 plus from 2nd chapter differences, from constitution differences, from 3rd chapter differences. So you will be able to answer 6 to 7 questions if you are learning. Okay. Of getting passing marks. Okay, so let us see the LAQ. The most important short question, scope of political science. Okay, I'll just give you a brief explanation of this. Okay, it is a important question mark, most repeated and short question you can say. If you are thorough with this question, you can easily attempt one LAQ. So this answer, you should divide it into parts. First, you should write the introduction. So when you write the introduction, you have to write about political science. So what does the political science deals with? Political science is a subject which studies about state and government. Okay. Then Aristotle, who is the father of political science? It is Aristotle is the father of political science, and the word politics, it is derived from Greek word polis, which means city-state. That's it. Introduction. 2 or 3 simple sentences. That is political science. It deals with state and government. Aristotle is the father of political science. The word politics is derived from Greek word polis, which means city-state. 3 simple sentences, your introduction is over. Then coming to definition. Okay, you can write 2, it's well and good. If you can write 2 definitions, it is well and good. Otherwise, write at least 1 definition. Okay, the definition given by J.W. Garner, it is very easy. What does it say? political science begins and ends with the state. Political science, it begins and ends with the state. And if you can learn the next definition, well and good. What is that? It is the scientific study of importance of power, authority and influence. It is given by Robert Then. The political science, it is the scientific study of importance of power, authority and influence. See, I am just showing you how to write introduction, then definition. Under definition, if you can write 2 definitions, well and good. Otherwise, at least 1 definition is required. Now, coming to your scope of political science. When you say scope, what do you mean by scope? Scope means subject matter. So, what does it deal with? Political science, it studies about relationship of man with the society, state and government. It studies about relationship of man to the society, state and government. Side headings, just see the side headings first. Then political science, it is the study of state. Political science, it is the study of government. Okay, then it is the study of associations and institutions. Political science is the study of rights and duties. Political science is the study of national and international issues. It is the study of comparative politics, you can write, or comparative government also. In political science, we see how politics is analyzed, so study of modern political analysis, and it is the study of public policies, how policies are made by the government. First, you should know the side headings. Okay, once you are done with the side headings, once you know the side headings, try to explain those side headings in your own words. Okay, same thing you can explain, like man is a social animal. Okay, and the political science, it studies about the relationship of individual with state, society and government. So, when we say study of state, political science, it studies how state originated, how it developed, what is its nature and what are the functions of the state. Study of government, okay, how government make the plans and policies, programs for the welfare of the people, how it implements the plans and policies. What is the structure and function of the government? Okay, structure means we have 3 organs and how those 3 organs function. If you are learning like this, if you are explaining this side headings like this, that is enough. Okay, then after explaining all the points, you should conclude your answer with a conclusion. What is the conclusion? The scope of political science is ever expanding. The scope of political science is ever expanding. That means it started with study of relation between the man and the society, state and government, but it is continued, okay, and we study how the policies are made by the government. So, it is expanding. That is the conclusion. If you are writing these points, if you are explaining these points, that is enough. Now, coming to your next question from the second chapter, define state and discuss its essential features. So, what is state? You need to write here. What is, again, an introduction. State is a political organization, okay, and it has sovereign power. How many features does it have? It has 4 elements: population, territory, government and sovereignty. Again, 2 definitions. Any one, if you can write one, it's okay. Otherwise, you can write both the definitions. One is okay, sufficient. 2, you will get good impression. Okay. So, what is the definition given by Woodrow Wilson? State is people organized for law within a definite territory. State is nothing but people who are living in a definite territory. According to J.W. Burgess, state is a portion of mankind. It is a part of land where the mankind is viewed as an organized unit. Then again, all the four elements you need to explain. What is population? Population, it means people. If there is no population, there is no state. So population, it consists of both rulers and the ruled. Okay, there is no fixed opinion regarding the size of the population. And what is territory? Territory is the geographical area. What forms the territory? Land, water around the land, and space above the land is the territory of a state. Then what is government? It is the agency of the state which formulates and implements the laws of the state. It works for the welfare of the people. Then what is sovereignty? Okay, it is supreme power. It is of two types, internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. Internally, state is powerful above all the organizations and institutions, and externally it is independent. Okay, if you want to write the fifth element, well and good. International recognition. What is international recognition? What does it mean? Every state has to be recognized by the other states, and that can be done in United Nations. Okay, UN, it can be done, you can recognize other states by UN. United Nations will recognize the states. So international recognition, it is one of the element of the state. Okay, so like this you can write your second LAQ. If this is not asked, the next question which can be asked is characteristics of sovereignty. So here again, sovereignty means supreme power. Who possesses the sovereignty? Only state possesses the sovereignty. It is this sovereignty which differentiates states from other institutions. One definition given by Belofsky, that is, sovereignty is the supreme will of the state, and the sovereignty is of two types, internal and external. Internally, it is supreme over all individuals. Externally, it is free from foreign control. Okay. Then your characteristics. Absolute. Sovereignty is absolute. Universality. Universal means applicable to all. Okay. Like this. Then permanent. Sovereignty is a permanent feature. Okay. A state continues its existence. Any change in government will not affect the sovereignty. Inalienable, we cannot transfer our sovereignty. A state cannot transfer the sovereignty. If it transfers the sovereignty, it loses its existence. Okay, so it is like a soul that cannot be separated from the body. And sovereignty is indivisible. We cannot divide sovereignty. Okay. Like this, you can explain your side headings. Okay. With this, I